Okay. We're recording on Zoom. Okay. Looks like YouTube is working now. YouTube is working. Facebook is working. I should be able to close this. Right? Let me kill the audio. Mute. Okay, mute. And they keep, okay, I'm gonna close, I don't know what's going on with YouTube. All right. Minimize this. Maybe I can, all right. Preparing live stream. Okay, we are on Zoom. We're recording, we're live on Facebook. I'm not sure about YouTube. It keeps going to another video. So we'll, but I closed it, and so theoretically it should be there later. So welcome everybody. Welcome to our first ever Wednesday Reflections here from the beautiful island of St. Croix in the turquoise waters of the Caribbean, which you can't see right now because it's 7 p.m. So we're starting these Wednesday Reflections. They'll be every Wednesday at 7 p.m. So thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Welcome. And also, thank you for those of you who watch the recording later. And if the YouTube live stream doesn't work, I'll still post the recording on my channel on YouTube, so you can watch it then. So, you know what I talk about here cannot really be talked about. You know, the Tao that can be spoken of is not the true Tao, which would be a problem if I were a teacher. But I'm not. I am a reflection. I am a reflection of, that's fine. There's 2 people on Zoom. We're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube as well. I'm a reflection that you're creating you full screen. So it keeps saying preparing live stream. So I'm a reflection of our one teacher, our one true and common teacher that we all share. And you have created this reflection in your perception so that the teacher can really just remind you of what you already know. And so that's coming through this form into your perception so that you can be reminded of this, which is a state of consciousness that cannot be spoken about. The Tao that can be spoken of is not the true Tao. So the words that I'm using are like signposts that point you in the direction, but they are not the state of consciousness that we're speaking of. And you can't hear the words and understand them and analyze them conceptually and think about them and try to figure out what they mean and use that conceptual mind to get to this state of consciousness that I'm talking about. So it's like when you arrive at our local airport here on St. Croix, when you come out of when you go through the exit gate, you get to a main road, and you can only go left or you can go right. And there are two signs. And there's a sign that says Christiansted, which is one of our major towns here. And it's pointing to the left. And there's a sign that says Frederiksted, which is our other major town, and that sign points to the right. So you know, if you want to go to Christiansted, you're going to go left, and if you want to go to Frederiksted, you're going to go right. So the sign is very helpful. But the sign is not Christiansted, right? The sign is not Frederiksted. The sign that says Christiansted is not actually Christiansted. It just is a sign pointing you towards Christiansted. And the sign that says Frederiksted is not actually Frederiksted, it's just a sign pointing you the way that you have to go if you want to get to Frederiksted. And so these words that I share here are not the state itself. They're not going to get you to that state simply by listening and understanding what I'm saying. They point you in the correct direction. And if you relax around the words and allow this one teacher that we all share, which is coming to you in this form into your perception, because you created this in order to be reminded of what you know on a deep level you want to know. If you'll approach it that way, letting go of the egoic conditioning, you have a much better chance of realizing the state that I'm talking about. And so why do you want to realize this state? Well, there's a lot I could say about that, but for now, let's just say that it's the end of suffering. And it's the end of suffering, and it is the truth. It's seeing truly, seeing reality and not illusion. And one thing that's helpful in terms of getting to this state and is to quiet down the conditioned egoic mind. And a good way of doing that is meditation. So I always like to start each class with just a short 10-minute meditation. So we'll have like a short 10-minute guided meditation to begin the class. And if you've ever been to a formal meditation hall, you usually take your shoes off before you walk in. And a kind of a cliche, jokey kind of a thing they'll tell you is leave your problems with your shoes. You can always pick them up again when you leave with your shoes. And what they mean by that is don't allow your problems of the day, things that you're concerned about, they're legitimate things to be concerned about, right? There's nothing wrong with having some kind of situation or issue that you want to figure out what you should do, but just don't do it during the meditation. because it's just going to distract you from your meditation and you won't get the benefit. So let's see, got a message here. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, all right, good. Got a like, thank you. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box on Facebook. If you're on Zoom, you can unmute yourself and just verbally ask me. Okay, so, but there is a chat, but Zoom also has a chat box, so you could do that as well. If you want to remain anonymous, well, I generally don't like spread people's stuff. I mean, if you type in a question that's like really personal, I'm just gonna kind of abstract it and leave your personal stuff out of it. But if you want to be like extra sure, then just mention in your question that this is private. So that's probably for later though. Okay. So don't let yourself get distracted by trying to figure out your problems during your meditation. In fact, a lot of times what you'll find out is that when you completely forget about the problem and do halfway decent meditation, at the end of the meditation, the solution is just suddenly appears, it suddenly arises. So I'm not real formal about meditation. Just get comfortable. You want to be comfortable enough that you're not being distracted by physical pain, like a stiff place in your body, for example. But you don't want to be so comfortable that you fall asleep. Falling asleep is fine. There's nothing wrong with falling asleep, but falling asleep is not meditation. So if you want the benefits of meditation, you have to not fall asleep. And so our version of walking in, taking off our shoes and walking into the meditation hall is that I ring the gong 3 times. And then we take 3 deep cleansing breaths. And with the exhale, just let everything go. So that gives you 3 gongs and 3 breaths to let everything go. And basically you're making a line. Everything before the gongs and the breath is the problems of the day. Everything after is meditation. So it's like a definite border so that we can consciously enter into our meditation. And that's really all there is to it. So we'll start now. And now 3 deep cleansing breaths. And just get comfortable. And now just place your awareness on your breath. As you breathe in, feel your breath going into your nose. We want to breathe in and out through the nose for this meditation. So as you inhale, you just feel the air going into your nose. Just place your awareness on the air going into your nose. And then on the exhale, place your awareness on the air as it comes out of your nose. And just breathe normally. Just watching your breath. And at the end of the meditation, I'll ring the gong again, so you don't have to worry about the time. One less distraction. And speaking of distractions, some people think that once you start a meditation, you're supposed to be like a statue and not move. But if that means you're uncomfortable because you really want to roll your neck or stretch your arms over your head or something, to work out a kink, and the kink is really distracting you, then you should go ahead and move and get the kink out. Meditation was made for man, not man for meditation. So you do whatever you need to do to make the meditation work. And so we continue our breathing, placing your awareness on the inhale as the air comes in, and the exhale as it goes out. Just follow your breath. And not only feeling the air as it goes in and out, but also hearing maybe the sound. Maybe you can hear the sound of your breath, even inside your head. If you listen for it, you can. But the mind has to be very quiet. Just allow yourself to fall into the stillness. Just allow everything to be as it is. Because everything as it is perfect. The need to change things is of the ego. Resistance is of the ego. The urge to make it better is a judgment, a fear-based judgment that comes from the ego. And that is not who you are. That's a story. So during the meditation, you might have noticed that thoughts subsided and you became aware of awareness, aware of awareness itself. At first, you're just aware of your breath. You're aware of the inhale and the exhale. But eventually the awareness expands to include everything. And it's like you become awareness. All of the temporary features of this conditioned egoic mind and the body that comes along with it subside into the background. And pure awareness comes to the foreground, so to speak. And this awareness doesn't have a problem with anything. Because it's not engaged in the egoic activity of creating this illusion. You know, everything that arises in your perception was created by you because you think you separated from source. And you think that you chose to do that. You think that you were unworthy, that you had done something wrong, and so you didn't belong in heaven, we could use that word anymore. And so you chose to separate from the oneness. But oneness is everywhere, you know, where would you go? There is no place to go. You can't actually do that. So you didn't actually do that. But in order to give yourself the feeling of having done that, because you wanted it so badly and your mind is so powerful, you created an alternate reality for yourself. And I know there seems to be a lot of evidence that this world is real and that you are a separate person in a separate body, separated from other separate persons in their separate bodies, separated from a world of separate objects. But that's because the evidence is convincing because you stacked the jury and salted the evidence. You created a body-mind designed to perceive this illusion. I mean, you think everything is separate because you created space between everything. And you give separate names to every separate thing. You give a name to everything, and then you put a space between everything, and that is how you created duality out of oneness. And I like the way the Dao De Jing puts it. First there was the one, then there was two, then there came the 10,000 things. So we live in a world of 10,000 things, metaphorically. A universe of 10,000 things. But we did all that, we created all of that. And it's possible, you know, to see through that illusion and to see the underlying reality of love that's beneath it all. You just have to want to do it. You just have to choose to do it. So, you know, a lot of people will try to change things in their world. They'll try to make their life better by changing things in the dream, by changing things in the illusion. And or changing things in the movie. So it's like you go to the movie theater and you don't like the way the story's going, and you're gonna like walk up to the screen and try to push the characters around and get them to do something different. It's a movie, right? It's already on the film. The script has already been written, and you can't improve your situation by changing things in the illusion. Because, you know, even if you change something, you don't really know for sure that that's what you want. You don't really know what you want in this world. And if you get it, it's temporary. It lasts a short while, then it changes again. Or you get it and you change your mind. You don't want it after all. You get tired of it, or you don't like it, or you know, it's just the suffering is continual. And then, because that's what we designed this world to be. We designed it that way. We created it to be a place where permanent happiness is unattainable. So it's changing things in the illusion, moving things around in the illusory dream world in order to try to find happiness isn't going to work. And what you want to do instead is see through the dream, see past the dream, see the truth that's behind the dream. And you know, I had like a good example of that happened to me this week. I was trying to pay my electric bill over the phone with my credit card, and they could not process it. And it just what it wasn't even beginning to work. It was like it was a bank that doesn't exist or something. So I called my bank, and my bank wasn't very helpful either. They said, there's nothing wrong with your card. We're not seeing anything at all coming in on our end. It's not even coming in. So there's nothing wrong with your card. And so then I'm calling back, talking to somebody else. So then it looked like I was going to have to go, actually, since I couldn't do it over the phone, I was going to have to go with cash or a check or something. I was going to have to drive there. And then I had a car problem, so I couldn't drive there. So all of these things arising in my perception were the typical kind of things that arise in this world of things not working right? You're having problems. Something that's been working for 20 years suddenly stops working. Nobody you talk to can figure out what's wrong. Everybody's telling you there's nothing wrong, but yet there is something wrong because the car's not working. And then you're gonna have to drive. And now your car isn't working. So it's just one block after another. Because we can set it up, we can set it up in our perception that the world is a difficult place and that life is a struggle and that life is hard. And the world gives us plenty of evidence of that. But then I remembered to see through the illusion and to see to the loving reality underneath. And what I did was I asked myself, why is this happening? Like, it's not happening because the universe is trying to teach me a lesson. It's nothing like that. You're not being punished. You didn't do anything wrong. The universe isn't trying to teach you a lesson or test you. You're not unlucky, but I knew because all of these blocks were happening one after the other, after the other, after the other, and normally I don't have that in my experience. There was something here, there was a lesson here that the one true teacher that we all share in our common mind was showing me, and not showing me in a painful way. Because anything that arises in your perception is the best possible thing that could be happening. So it's never like the teacher is giving you tough love, giving you a hard lesson to wake you up or anything like that. It's the teacher is doing the most loving thing possible for that situation. And so I asked myself, like, all right, so why is this happening? Like, what am I missing here? What am I supposed to be getting? And I realized that I'm still holding on to an old conditioned pattern from childhood of being let down by other people, even when I'm doing everything like I'm supposed to. And I had another conditioned pattern in childhood that was telling me, never do anything different than how you're supposed to. So I would always do what I was supposed to do, and usually it would work out, but not always. And in fact, we could say often, not the majority of times, but very frequently, I would be let down by somebody else not doing what they were supposed to do. And so like this problem with the card, it actually started a while ago. And I had called the bank several times, and I always wound up speaking to the same person who always assured me that there was nothing wrong with the card. There was nothing to be done to change it. And then I called the electric company, and always every person I spoke to assured me that it was some problem at the bank because everything on their end was fine and there was nothing to be done. And then I manifested the car not working as, you know, the car is like a symbol for yourself. Anything that you have around your car has some kind of connection to you personally. So that was showing me that I was the one that was creating the blockages. Creating the blockages because I had this conditioned pattern, which like was a habit from childhood that, you know, samskaras, the Tibetans or the Tibetans and the Indians call it, just past stuff left over from your past. You've made a lot of progress on the spiritual path, but there can be things from your past that you haven't dealt with yet, and they just sort of continue by habit. Like if you spin a pinwheel and take your finger away, or spin it. Let's say you take a pinwheel and you spin it, and you take your finger away. It's going to keep spinning for a while before it finally stops, even though you're not still hitting it with your finger. And so these samskaras, these past conditionings, can continue on their own. And one of the things that happens when you give up resistance, egoic resistance to what is this stuff will come up out of you to be dealt with. Because as long as it's buried deep in your subconscious, you're not really dealing with it, and it's still there. And it wants to be dealt with, actually. It comes up into the conscious mind so that you can deal with it. And it's once it's been handled, it just basically, salutes and goes on its merry way because you're done. So these, so I realized that I had this conditioning. And I said, all right, well, what would happen if I choose to see through the illusion of thinking that other people are going to let me down, and saw it instead as a loving and benign universe conspiring to help me in every conceivable way. And I also looked at it as, well, I know that's not true. I know that we are all one consciousness. So there's no way that anyone is going to let me down, because they would just be letting themselves down. I would be letting myself down. And we would both realize that. And I also looked at it as I know that to the extent things not working out that arise in my perception were created by me, were put there by me. The woman at the bank was put there by me. The people at WAPA were put there by me. I put them there to trigger this realization. So it's for my maximum benefit, and it's also for their maximum benefit. Any interaction that you have on the level of form in your perception, because it's all orchestrated by a loving and benign teacher, is going to be for the maximum benefit of everyone involved. And so then once I saw through the illusion and saw through to the reality of the love underneath, the reality of the love underneath, whatever anyone does, it's out of love. Whatever happens is love. Heaven, there's a saying in the New Testament, something like, heaven is laid upon the earth, but men see it not. It's just a question of what you choose to see. You can choose to see heaven, or you can choose to see a world of suffering where things get blocked and nothing works out right. Or sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and you're going back and forth, right, between suffering and pleasure. And which one you see is totally determined by whether you look with the eyes of the body or you use the vision of your inner awareness. And that's a choice of, do you want to continue to be separate? Do you want to continue to be separate from source? Separate from God? Some people don't like that word. You know, it doesn't matter what the word is, the absolute source, whatever you want to call it, oneness. You separated yourself from oneness, and every instant you're continually deciding again, yes or no, stay separate from oneness or return. And again, you can't actually separate from oneness, and you never actually did, but you created, because your powerful mind created for you the illusion that you separated from oneness. And that's the illusion that you suffer through on a daily basis. And so it's just a good idea to kind of question that once in a while. And as soon as I questioned, you know, because this wasn't the typical kind of thing where it's just obvious, right? Like the card's supposed to work, it's worked for 20 years, now suddenly it's not working, nobody can tell me why. You know, what do I have to do with that? You know, how could that be something I'm doing? But as soon as I remembered to question it and remembered what's true, everything started flowing. I decided to give it one last try with the card to pay over the phone. And so I called up, okay. Prior to this, I actually, when I first tried to call during the period where I'm being blocked, I could not get through. Now I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for somebody to come online. So finally I gave up, and you know, they had this automatic callback thing where you type, you know, you punch in your information and they'll call you back. So you don't have to stay on the phone all day. And I've used that before, actually. And they call back. In the past, they had called back, and I dealt with the problem, everything was fine. And then it was very surprising. I would get a call later on in the day from WAPA, the local electric company here. And wanting to be sure I had gotten a call back. And I was like, yeah, I got a call back, everything's fine, thank you. So it's like really excellent customer service, even following up on the callback. But what I'm, this last thing where everything is being blocked, even that got blocked. I did the automatic, I tried to do the automatic callback thing, and you have to type in with your phone your account number, and I kept mistyping. It would seem like my finger was right in the middle of the correct number, but the number next to it would be entered, and I'd have to start over. And so it took me like 3 tries to finally get the information in so that I could get the call back. And then I got the call back, and I explained the situation to the person who called me back, and they said, okay, let me put you on hold just for a minute. And they put me on the regular hold with the music that you hear and the ads that you hear when you first call in. And I was on the hold for like 20 minutes, and I concluded nobody's coming back. So then I had, what do I do now? If I redo the automatic callback, I'll be right back where I'll be at the end of the line again. And nobody called me back at the end of the day to make sure I had gotten a call back, which always happened, which has always been the case in the past. So, in other words, nothing was working the way it had worked so well in the past. I was being blocked at every turn. But then I remembered the truth, and the next day, early in the morning, the next day. And so I said, well, let's give it another try. And I called, and somebody answered right away. And then this person was very kind and listening. And I explained the whole situation. And they said, well, you want to try your card again? Let's try your card again. And there was just something in the way she said it that made me think like somehow she knew it was going to work now, or she was very optimistic, or she knew what the problem was and she knew how to fix it, or she knew that whatever the problem had been, that maybe WAPA didn't want to admit, had been taken care of. It's like somehow I felt from her this optimistic, helpful energy of it's going to work now. And so I did it, I gave her the information, and it went right through. I mean, it just went right through. Other times in the past, even when it's worked, there was like a day delay before it showed up on my bank account on the internet. This one went right through. So, and there were a lot of other things connected to this whole situation that also wound up flowing perfectly. Just total perfection. The flow was restored. And I really had, if you think about it, I didn't do anything differently, except that I chose to see things differently. I chose to stop resisting the situation, to accept the situation, to forgive the situation, to see through the illusion, to understand my role in creating the blockages that seem to be arising in my apparent perception. I mean, I didn't do anything differently in the sense of trying to change things in the illusion, right? You know, like write a letter of complaint about the bank or the electric company so that some agency will make them do things correctly or whatever, right? You know, it's like that's one way, you know, and that's like trying to change things on the level of form, on the level of the illusory world, in the illusion. I transcended the illusion. I forgave the illusion. I saw past and through the illusion to the underlying reality of absolute love, absolute unconditional love. And that's what brought about the shift. That's why suddenly everything was working again. That's why suddenly there weren't any problems. That's why suddenly everything was flowing. It's like a shift in the energy. You go up to a higher level vibration. Because if I'm seeing it as other people, and you know, you could also say institutions, but institutions are composed of people. But other people or institutions are, my experience in the past was that they let me down, and so I have this conditioning that I'm going to be let down. Then I'm seeing it that way. So I'm basically creating a movie for myself, and that's the way it plays out. And so rather than going up to the screen and trying to push the characters around, seeing through the illusion, forgiving the illusion, letting go of the resistance, not making it wrong anymore, not letting the ego play its judgment blame game, which is always motivated by the ego's desire to keep you separate, because that's what gave rise to the ego. That's why the ego exists. The ego is not actually an entity. It's not you. Like I said during the meditation, it's just a story in your head. But even the story, it's not an entity, it's an activity. It's a constant, in every instant of every day, you're constantly choosing separation or unity, separation or unity. And every time you choose separation, that is the ego. That's what the ego does. That's the activity of the ego. It's an action, not a person or an entity or a, you know, personality that you carry around in your head or anything like that. It's your constant, chronic, ongoing activity of choosing separation. So when you do that, when you choose separation in whatever particular content that might happen. The content can vary, but the form is always the same. Choosing separation. So when you choose separation, you're choosing to see a movie where there is suffering and things don't work out and you don't get what you want. Or if you do get what you want, it doesn't last, or your contentment with it doesn't last. And seeing through that is changing the movie. You're not going up to the old movie and pushing the characters around. You're literally changing the movie. But even that is not the ultimate goal. Ultimately, because whether it's a good movie or a bad movie, whether it's a happy dream or a nightmare, it's not real. Ultimately, you want to wake up, even from the happy dream. Ultimately, you want to walk out of the movie theater into reality. But it's progress on the path, because as you get skillful at seeing through the illusion, changing the movie, well, two things happen actually. One is you begin to question the reality of if what we've been conditioned to believe and what our body mind way of perceiving, physical eyes, hearing, taste, touch, you created all of that. Your consciousness is not inside your brain, which is inside your head, which is attached to your body. All of that is inside your consciousness. It's like an avatar. And you created all of that to function and work in a particular way, which is to show you the illusory world and make you think it's real. And so so when you're able to start seeing through the illusion and forgiving, that's a key thing. And forgiveness does not mean pretending like it didn't happen. Forgiveness means realizing it didn't happen. Not really. Not in reality, only in the dream. And then you begin to experience concrete, hardcore, three-dimensional, materialistic reality suddenly starts changing, shifting, like what happened to me this week. You begin to realize how malleable reality, this apparent reality is. In other words, things are not as hard fixed as we think they are. It's not written in granite. It's not etched in stone. You see through the illusion, you forgive and let go of resistance, and suddenly everything changes. Suddenly everything shifts. So how real can it be if it's so easily altered like that, right? It's like waking up in a lucid dream where you eventually realize you're dreaming. So when you realize you're dreaming, it becomes easier to wake up. As long as you don't know you're dreaming, you're going to stay asleep. So when you begin to realize, when you have the experience of this apparent reality not being quite so rigid and fixed and unalterable and definite as you thought it was, then you begin to really question whether it's actually real or not. And once you know, and that's like a major step towards waking up. And then the other way that it helps you is you're not getting sucked in by your ego. You're not getting distracted. The ego would love it if you would stay on the level of form in this apparent reality and try to make things better by fixing things here, by changing things here. Because that takes all your energy, all your attention. You're focused on that. You're focused on fixing the problem where it's not, because the problem is in your mind. That's the root cause of the problem. And everything going on out here in the apparent reality is just a projection of mind. So it's just a symptom. And so you're just dealing with the symptom instead of getting at the root cause. Which isn't, which people have a misunderstanding. They think that means that you don't do anything in the real world. But no, I mean, you still honor the form. You take care of things in the real world. You do what needs to be done. But in a sense, it's just going to happen anyway, because it's just a movie, and the movie is going to play however the movie is going to play. And you can just like watch yourself do what needs to be done on the level of form, with the awareness that none of this is real. And that prevents you from getting sucked in by the ego and getting distracted and getting all caught up in, I'm trying to do the right thing. Why is it so hard? Why isn't this person doing what they're supposed to do? Why aren't they helping me? Why do I have to wait so long, right? Which you're choosing to see it that way. You don't have to see it that way. And all that it does is lowers your vibration and pulls you deeper into the ego's net, Maya's web, and makes things to where they don't flow, and they become more difficult, and they become sticky and hard and dense. And it reinforces that sense of separation. When you are resisting what is, finding fault with the people who they're not doing their job as they're supposed to, and you're blaming them for why you're having all these troubles, you're now making yourself better than them. You are separate from them. And you reinforce separation, and you feel it in your body as a sense of energy contracting. It's a contracted, dense energy. It's not flowing. It's not expanding in joy. I mean, that's why I say that, a lot of spiritual paths kind of try to like minimize the body, say that it's unimportant, that you're supposed to escape from it, that your soul is being held prisoner in your body. the body isn't even real. It's just an avatar, but it is a good feedback mechanism. You can feel, because remember, your body is inside your consciousness and you're inside your mind, and your mind is projecting this reality because you still are holding on to separation. And one of the ways that you maintain the separation is with a contracted energy field around your body. And you tend not to notice it because you've just gotten used to it. You think it's what you want. You're not really aware of what it's doing to you, energetically as well as emotionally. If you really felt it, it would probably be very painful. So you kind of suppress awareness of it, keep it off to the side so you don't have to feel it. But once you know what's going on and tune into that feeling, tune into the energy of your energy body, is it flowing and expanding in love and joy, or is it dense and contracted in fear and separation? Then that's a really good feedback mechanism that tells you whether you're on the right path or not. You know, if you're feeling, because like you get again, distracted by the ego that wants you focused on what's going on in this apparent reality, so you don't focus, you don't go to where the problem really is. And the reason for that is because as soon as you wake up, the ego doesn't exist anymore. And the ego knows this. And the ego would like to continue to exist. So it needs to keep you looking at the sparkly objects so that it can continue to exist. So you're looking at the sparkly objects, getting all distracted, going deeper into separation, getting a contracted energy field. But like I said, everything that arises in your perception is for the maximum benefit of everyone involved. Everything, even what the ego is doing, if you use it wisely or as an opportunity. So if you focus in on how your energy feels, and if it feels contracted, that tells you you are choosing separation and you're going down the wrong path, and you are manifesting for yourself in causing to arise in your own perception a hostile world, a world of conflict, a world of problems. Well, all right. So what I'm going to be doing with these Wednesday nights is we're just going to be exploring these topics. We will get more skilled at meditation. And we'll hopefully look at people's day-to-day experiences and maybe shed some light on those experiences, you know, from the standpoint of a different way of looking at them. So let's see, let me go to Still says preparing live stream. Okay, so let me, is there any questions? Let me check Facebook. Boom, 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 boom. How do I do that? So if there's no questions, I'm feeling pretty complete. And it's a lot to digest, I know. Might want to watch the recording. Okay, and you know what else? On the World of Form, I need to use the bathroom. So I think we'll call it a night. I want to thank everybody for coming and thank you for watching later on the recording. And you can always ask a question in the comments as well. If I didn't answer, if it didn't come up during the talk. Love you all. Have a great night.